From Duck Hunt to Ice Climber to Mock Rider, there were a lot of early Nintendo Entertainment System games I wouldn't mind seeing given the 21st century treatment. Pretty low on that list, however, has to be Slalom, the frustratingly difficult skiing game that hasn't aged too well in the last 35 years. But could it be that I've been wrong this whole time? Well, that's how I felt while playing through a fun and addictive new game called Horatio Goes Snowboarding. It's a downhill delight that is both fast-paced and nerve-wracking in all the best ways, giving us a modern-day slalom that is actually fun. But for how long? Yeah, that's the question we're going to be answering today. You play a gumball-shaped character named Horatio, who knows exactly what he needs to do, and that's buy a board and hit the slopes. Like the title suggests, Horatio is about to go snowboarding, and it's your job to make sure that he gets to the bottom without hitting any trees or missing too many of the gates. The goal is to spend as many days in a row hitting the slopes as possible and earning a high score, which you'll use to impress the leaderboard and, more importantly, unlock the unlimited mountain mode. Now, as you can imagine, successfully getting to the bottom of the mountain is not as easy as it sounds. Horatio will obviously need to avoid trees and barrels and rocks and all kinds of typical snowboarding obstacles, as well as a few surprises, such as a Yeti racing after our hero, knocking everything over that gets in his way. The randomly constructed stages get increasingly challenging and more congested as the days go on, making it harder and harder for you to keep the score multiplier going and to keep our rotund hero from falling on his face. If Horatio does end up hitting a tree or getting clobbered by one of those Yetis, he'll be rushed to the hospital and forced to pay a 100-pound fee and have to buy a new snowboard before being allowed back on the slopes. That may not sound so bad, but you have to remember they only start with 300 pounds in your pocket. Even if you manage to earn some extra cash by successfully getting to the finish line, all it'll take is a few crashes before the game is over and your score is set in stone. Now, let me tell you, it's not just the mountain you have to worry about, because just getting to the helicopter plays out like a high-stakes version of Frogger. Horatio will need to dodge cars and trucks as he crosses several lanes of traffic in an effort to get to the chopper. That's usually no problem, but there are plenty of times where I misjudged my timing and sent the poor guy back to the emergency room. And oh boy, there's nothing worse than getting hit by a car in a snowboarding game. The best thing I can say about Horatio Goes Snowboarding is that it's easy to pick up and immediately fun. Yes, it sometimes feels like the game is working against you, but that's just half the fun. This isn't a serious snowboarding simulator where realism counts. It's a silly time waster where you move left and right, dodging trees and passing through gates. It's a game you'll play for a few minutes in an attempt to hit a new high score. It works as a simple, quick play game, but the moment you start hoping for a little depth is when the whole thing falls apart. You know, I'm honestly a little surprised by how barebones Horatio Goes Snowboarding is. It's not that I expected more of the course designs or even a robust story mode, but I figured we'd get at least some customization. A lot of these types of games have you earning money to unlock new outfits, colors, snowboards, goggles, you name it. This one, however, does not. Unless I missed a crucial part of the experience, I was always the same purple gumball with a yellow snowboard. The game loses something by not having missions to complete and items to unlock. It desperately needs that carrot and stick to keep you invested in the action, because just trying to beat your high score won't be enough for most people. I'm also not a big fan of the art style, which is a little too simplistic and repetitive for its own good. The only visual difference between runs is the time of day, which offers a nice splash of color here and there. Aside from that, pretty much every time down the mountain looks the same. It's always the same obstacles and paths to the point where it almost doesn't feel random anymore. It doesn't help that you can't pull off any tricks or do anything to make the slopes more interesting. About the closest you get to a stunt is narrowly missing a tree. For the record, the game likes to label that as showboating, but I prefer to call that desperately staying invested in the shallow experience. Like I said earlier, this is the kind of game that is fun in short bursts. The controls may be simple, and the game is too bare bones, but you'll certainly have a good time for a few minutes. The problem is that without stuns, rotating tasks, and customization options, the fun is limited, and the good times are short-lived. Horatio Goes Snowboarding is exactly what it sounds like, and nothing more. Barebones to a fault, Horatio Goes Snowboarding is a white-knuckle race down a relentlessly difficult mountain. The accessible gameplay and fast-paced action helps to make the game the perfect time waster when all you have is a few minutes. The tedious stage designs, repetitive obstacles, and missing customization options keep this extreme sports game grounded. Fun in short bursts, but lacking a lot of the options and modes we take for granted. Oh well, at least it's better than Slalom. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. What is your favorite snowboarding game? Look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'm partial to SSX3. It's simply one of the best games ever made. But hey, I know a lot of people love 1080 and Amped and Snowboard Kids and, I don't know, maybe even Cool Boarders. I mean, they made like 10 of those, so somebody had to love them, right? No matter what your choice is, let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back next week with more reviews and a big announcement about future shows. If that sounds good to you, then do me a favor and click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,